When you look at the Bloomberg Billionaire Index, there are a lot of familiar faces at the top. But then you have a man named Gautam Adani at number 5 with a net worth of $120 billion, putting him ahead of Warren Buffett. Yet despite this wealth, Adani is a man very few people have heard of. He's very quiet, stays out of the public eye, and unlike many of the world's richest men, he didn't make his money in exciting industries like tech and finance. Instead, Gautam made his money in the boring industry of industrials, working in everything from infrastructure, ports, mining, energy, and much more. He's the founder of the $180 billion parent company, Adani Group, which is comprised of 7 publicly traded companies, along with dozens of other non-publicly traded companies, making him the only top 10 billionaire in industrials, the richest man in Asia, and the 3rd most powerful person in India. Yet as rich as he is today, Adani grew up in a below-average situation, and he started his career as a college dropout with only 100 rupees to his name. So how was a 16-year-old college dropout able to become the 5th richest man in the world with a net worth of $120 billion? Let's find out. Gautam Adani was born in 1962 in Gujarat, which is a western state along the coast of India. Here, his father was a small textile merchant, which was an okay job, but considering he had 8 kids to provide for, the family struggled to make ends meet. So Adani wasn't raised in a privileged situation by any means. As a result, he quickly realized that anything he wanted in life, he would need to work for. This got Adani, who was a very ambitious person, interested in business at a young age. And although he did attend Gujarat University to pursue his bachelor's degree in commerce, Adani's college experience wouldn't last long. Along with the fact that he rarely attended class and was a poor student, Adani also came to the realization that the sooner he could get out of school, the sooner he could pursue his dream of striking it big in business. So after completing his 2nd year of college, he dropped out, marking the end of his formal education. Although his father would give him the opportunity to take over his textile business, Adani wasn't interested, and he had the aspiration of achieving something much more. As a result, in 1978, at just 16 years old, he moved to Mumbai with only 100 rupees, which is the equivalent of $32 today, with the hope of striking it big in business, and that he did. Adani's business career would get off to a strong start, and upon arriving in Mumbai, he took a job as a diamond sorter for Mahendra Brothers. Here, Adani used this time to hone his craft as a diamond sorter while also observing how diamond trading was done. And within a few years, Adani decided to start his own diamond brokerage. Adani's company was an immediate success, and in less than 3 years, he made his first $1 million. So after coming to Mumbai at just 16 years old with only 100 rupees, Adani was already a self-made millionaire at just the age of 20. So his business career was off to a picture-perfect start. However, Adani's success as a diamond broker was short-lived, and in 1981, he made a surprising decision and moved back to his home state of Gujarat to help manage a plastics factory his brother had just purchased. At the time, the company was struggling, and although they needed 20 tons of PVC a month, which is a main component for plastic manufacturing, their supplier couldn't get them more than 2 tons, so Adani was brought in to help manage the operations. This venture turned out to be Gautam's gateway to global trading, and over the next 4 years, Adani was put in charge of importing polymers, which involved him making deals with countries like South Korea, so he was really able to learn more about global trading during this time. And although this seemed to be a strange career choice for someone who had just started a $1 million business, this decision to work for his brother would turn out to be one of the best decisions of his career. Adani's time working for his brother gave him some valuable experience in global trade, and in 1988, Adani used that experience to start another company called Adani Exports, which is now known as Adani Enterprises. Although this was during a time when many young entrepreneurs were entering new and exciting sectors like tech, Adani went against the grain, and using a seed capital of 500,000 rupees, he began importing and exporting commodities, which was a boring business that had been around for years. In particular, he focused on power and agriculture-related commodities, which is where Adani saw that there was a need after working for his brother. Adani's instincts eventually proved to be correct, and although the company seemingly got off to a slow start, things were trending in the right direction under the surface. In 1991, India decided to make their economy more business-friendly, and as a result, they adopted an economic liberalization program, which lowered regulations and opened up many new sectors in the economy. Gautam's company turned out to be a big beneficiary of these policies, and later that year, Adani Exports expanded their business into the trading of metals, textiles, and agro products, which took the company to a whole new level. As a result, Adani Exports, which started off as a small commodity exporter, turned into a widely recognized conglomerate, making this Adani's second successful company. However, as fast as they were growing, not everything was going smoothly, and the company was actually having some rather serious cash flow problems. The two local ports that Adani Exports was using for shipping were constantly having problems with delays, and as a result, the company was losing tens of millions of dollars a year. As usual, Gautam saw this as an opportunity though, and in 1993, when the government of Gujarat announced their plans to outsource the development of 6 new ports throughout the country, he applied for one of the contracts. And even though this would be a totally new industry for the company, he saw the infrastructure and port sectors as massive opportunities if they were able to crack them. So this decision to pivot the company into a new area was a risk he was willing to take. This plan played out perfectly, and in 1995, Adani won the contract to build a port in Mundra, marking the start of another company called Adani Ports. Even though this was Adani's first infrastructure project, he executed it almost flawlessly, and when the Mundra port was officially completed in the late 90s, Adani Ports had just built the largest port in India. Shortly after, they took over the operations from Mundra Ports, and today they have scaled Mundra into a cash cow for the company, thanks to its 71% operating margins. So Adani's decision to expand into the port and infrastructure sectors was a true turning point for the company. With this new experience in infrastructure, Adani decided to enter another new market, and in 1996, he launched a company called Adani Power to capitalize on the coal and thermal power industries, which he saw as another huge opportunity. Shortly after, Adani began building thermal power plants, quickly becoming the largest private thermal power producer in the country. The company also built the world's largest privately held coal power station, which was serviced by the Mundra port. So Gautam really integrated all of his businesses together very nicely, which is something he still does today. Over the next few years, Gautam continued his massive expansion, and throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, he entered nearly every other industry imaginable, starting dozens more companies like Adani Logistics, Adani Fresh, Adani Retail, Adani Energy, Adani Mining, and Adani Properties, just to name a few of the dozens of companies that were started. So Adani Group, which started as a small commodity exporter in 1988, quickly became one of India's leading conglomerates by the mid-2000s, and to no one's surprise, they were generating billions of dollars a year. As a result, Gautam was able to earn millions of dollars for himself as the value of his company soared, and by 2008, he had officially become a billionaire at just the age of 46. And while that was life-changing money for Adani, this wealth would pale in comparison to what he was about to make over the next decade. Over the past decade or so, Adani Group has continued their rapid expansion. From 2009 to 2012, Adani acquired the controversial Carmichael coal mine, which is one of the largest coal mines in Australia, and he also purchased Abbott Point Port, which is one of the country's largest coal ports. Then, just a few years later, Adani made a big splash and entered the solar industry, launching a new company called Adani Green Energy. Shortly after, Adani won the world's largest solar bid by receiving a $6 billion contract. And fast forward to today, and Adani Green is already a $45 billion company, and they expect to become the world's largest solar power company by 2025, just a few years after entering the industry. Adani has also recently entered the airline industry, and between 2018 to 2021, he purchased 9 airports, making them India's largest private airport operator. If that wasn't enough, they just entered India's cement business too, buying Wholesome for $10.5 billion this year, which already makes them the country's second largest cement company. Adani has also made dozens more deals, like purchasing SoftBank's renewable energy unit for $3.5 billion, and India's largest marine service company for $220 million, among dozens of other acquisitions. So the company is still rapidly expanding into new industries. Per Adani's business strategy, much of this growth has been funded through debt, and the company now has over $30 billion worth of debt, with much of that being taken on over the past decade. As a result, they're actually ranked as one of the most indebted businesses in India, which has raised some concerns from outsiders. That said, the company is still continuing to have success, and Adani Global is now India's most trusted infrastructure brand and largest private port operator, power producer, airport operator, and gas distributor, in addition to being one of the country's leading companies in sectors like water management, defense, cement, and transmissions. So they're dominating nearly every industry they operate in, which is remarkable. As a result of this success, the value of Adani Group has taken off, and today they're valued at over $180 billion. And considering Adani owns a significant stake in each of the company's subsidiaries, his net worth has grown along with them, and he's currently worth a stunning $120 billion, putting him ahead of Warren Buffett. What's particularly impressive is the speed at which his net worth has grown, and since 2008, his net worth has skyrocketed from $1 billion to $120 billion. In just this year, while nearly every other billionaire has seen their net worths drop, Adani's has risen nearly $45 billion, which is one of the largest one-year gains ever. As a result, in February of 2022, Adani became Asia's richest person, surpassing Mukesh Ambani, who also runs an industrial conglomerate. With all of this money, Adani, who has historically lived a quiet and under-the-radar life, decided to make a few splashy purchases, and in 2020 he bought a mansion in New Delhi for $52 million. He also bought 3 private jets, 3 helicopters, a BMW 7 Series, Rolls-Royce Ghost, and a Ferrari California, which is quite an upgrade for someone who grew up riding a humble scooter. However, this wealth has come with some problems too, and in 1998, Adani was kidnapped by a group of men and wasn't released until he paid them $2 million. He's also drawn a lot of criticism from environmentalists for his large coal businesses and from regulators for possible fraud. His wealth has also put him in the center of political controversy too, and many believe that his political relationships, like his decades-long friendship with India's Prime Minister Modi, have played a big role in his success. That said, considering Adani started his business career as a college dropout with only 100 rupees and is now the 5th richest person in the world, it could definitely make Gautam Adani one of the best rags to riches stories among billionaires.